a couple of months ago, Go Magic released a YouTube video called South Korea Through the Lens of Go, and it's Vadim's travel vlog from when he was spending time in Korea. And I really enjoyed this video. I love watching people play Go. I think a lot of the content out there, pretty much all the content out there right now, it's just Go instructional, and there's just a board, or not even a board, just the SGF editor, and you just look at Go, which is great. I mean, we love Go, and that's why all that content is there, but I think some of the real life stuff is missing from our pool of content. And this video of Vadim's travels in Korea, looking for all the Go stuff there, it really sparked my passion for Go. Watching him go visit a park where all these old men are playing casually on little benches, where there's not enough room for the board itself. And then Vadim actually catching a game with these people was actually so cool. And he also goes to a Go club. He goes to various heritage sites. He even visits the KBA, which I thought was super exciting because he got to see like the set of where they record pro games. And there was a little museum there. There's all sorts of awesome stuff in that vlog. So I highly recommend checking it out. I really enjoyed it. And I hope to see more content like that in the future, whether it's from Go Magic or from any other content creator. I really love that side content that comes with Go sometimes, where it's not necessarily about the actual game, but the atmosphere and the culture behind the game. I really like that stuff. So thanks to Go Magic for that awesome video. You're listening to Starpoint, the show about Go for Go fans away from the board. Today we got a bit of a grab bag variety pack episode, a little mishmash of things happening in the Go world recently. The first thing I want to talk about, not really in the Go world, but possibly the biggest mention or the biggest name drop of Go it has had in a while, when Magnus Carlsen was on Joe Rogan and he mentioned Go in the podcast. I mean, I feel like those are huge names, and Go doesn't get enough publicity, and the fact that they talked about Go even for a brief moment, it's pretty good for Go. So if you want to listen to it, I'll play it for you right now.
When there was an actual discussion whether computers could ever beat a grandmaster at chess, and now it's very much settled, of course.
Well, they have that same discussion about Go, right?
Well, Go is much more complicated than chess. So, but I don't know what has happened since AlphaGo. If like the best masters are still a little bit better, or where the state is at.
I think Go is better than everybody now. The computer is, but I think a new factor is that the computer has devised creative moves that were never used before, that have now been implemented. They're part of like general strategy, which I think they thought was very shocking.
So
see if you can find anything.
Is it like
about
kind of
that.
bluffing moves, or
I do not know, because I don't understand Go. I was just reading an article about the extraordinary leaps that AI has taken, and that one of the more shocking things was that it was able to beat the best players at Go, which they thought it was like a long time coming.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the movie AlphaGo, and I mean,
How long ago was that?
That's like maybe like 6-7 years ago.
See, in AI time, that's like Stone Ages, which is so crazy.
It was actually 9 years ago, almost. So time has surely passed by. I'm always surprised when people mention Go, because my first thought is always, oh, you know what Go is? Cool. It made me think about how much do people know about Go in general. And if I ask myself about whether the average person knows about Go, I would say almost all of them know. They don't know what Go is. If I show them a board, they may or may not recognize it, but most likely they'll kind of just not really. If I ask the average chess player, I would say there's a slightly greater chance that they would recognize it, or know what I'm talking about when I'm say Go. but at the same time, I don't think a whole lot of them have that in their sphere of consciousness. But the more serious they get into chess and the more high level of a chess player they are and the more of a serious hobbyist they are, I think the likelihood of them becoming aware of Go increases. And then by the time you're at a pro chess player level, I think most of the pro chess players, there's a good chance that they all know what Go is. But unfortunately, to the average person, I just don't think people know about Go. So, I mean, I didn't doubt that Magnus Carlsen knew about Go, and I had already known that Joseph Rogan knew what Go was because I've heard him mention it before. And I'm thankful that he mentioned it to Magnus Carlsen because I love it when these figures talk about Go, even just for a brief second. It looks like you see he has it on his periphery, but he doesn't know many of the details because he's not even sure if the computers can beat professional players at this point. And the answer to that is no. The AI have taken over for a while now, ever since AlphaGo, and then proved itself. I don't know what's wrong with me today. It proved itself again against Kaje back then. So there's no chance for us. But it also reminded me when he said that Go is way more complicated than chess, which was kind of surprising to hear. I mean, not that complexity is necessarily a superior thing. It doesn't necessarily make Go a better game, or complicated doesn't always even mean more challenging. But the fact that he characterized it that way right away, it reminded me of somebody else, another big chess name that has similarly talked about Go. It was Gotham Chess, who was on The Yard, which is a podcast run by Ludwig.
And we gotta look, chess is doing great. It's bigger than it's ever been.
Solved.
Not even close to the peak of Among Us.
You can't solve Among Us. That's the beauty of it.
Because
Among Us is the Go of social games.
Okay, chess. Go is more solved than chess.
Go is not more solved. Less solved. What are you talking about? Go is not even close.
It's not even close
to solved.
They just beat the human, right?
I can't speak about Go.
No, you're right.
I don't know.
Have you ever played Go?
They beat the human.
No, I tried once and it was way too hard. I'm a fucking nasty checkers player though.
So, just a few misconceptions about the state of AI and the complexity of Go here and there, but glad that somebody there at least knew what they were talking about and clarified that Go is, if you want to quantify it, I would say for sure it is less solved than chess. But back to the point about chess players characterizing Go, Gotham Chess, so he was the one who was speaking at the end there. He's pretty much the biggest, I think he's the biggest chess YouTuber out there. But he is a very strong player. He's an international master, and he's saying that he gave up on Go because it was way too hard. And then you have Magnus Carlsen here saying that Go is way more complicated than chess. So what's up with that, right? Like, these great chess players, really smart individuals, skilled players are characterizing Go as something very difficult and complicated. Well, I guess there's got to be some truth to that. But, before we start taking pride in the fact that we're playing such a difficult game, maybe it also says something to how difficult it is to get started in Go. If somebody who has reached the level of Gotham Chess as an international master in chess goes in and tries Go and deems it too hard and gives up, how are we going to expect the average person to try Go and then stick with it as a hobby? There's something to that beginning step that is just so confusing. And it made me think maybe we're framing the whole game incorrectly. I would say that maybe people are going in trying to put all the concepts of Go into their brain, like they're learning book knowledge, like they're learning how to play chess, when Go should more be taught as if it's like some kind of art. Because when you start, I feel like what the best thing to do is, obviously you gotta pick up some reading skills, you gotta learn how to capture, how to, how the stones behave on the first line, things like that. Yeah, of course. But that's not that hard, right? That's not that complicated. But I think what gets people is the sheer amount of freedom that they have and not knowing where things will go at all. when they start playing a game. And it's like if you try to teach a student how to draw and you just give them a pencil and say, okay, so draw a face, like draw your first like scene in nature or something, they will be flabbergasted, right? They'll be just like, I don't know, they'll just draw a stick tree and a stick person and they won't know what to do. It's like really, really hard to get started with that without any kind of guidance. And to just logically explain something like that, it won't help at all. So I think that's why Go is similar in that way, where maybe we should be teaching people like, hey, it's not about winning. It's not about getting the right answers all the time right here. This game is more like an art form than it is than other games. So when you look at the game, just look at how beautiful the moves are and feel what they're doing and just play like that. Watch me, watch the moves that I play, watch the moves that other people play, and try to do that. If you're teaching art to somebody, what do? You'd say, hey, look at this drawing right here. This one doesn't seem too hard. Look at it and try to copy it, try to emulate it, try to see what they're doing and look at the techniques they're using. And watch this person draw. See how this person is drawing, where they're starting. Try to emulate that. And I think that kind of emulation approach is maybe easier to digest than the whole like, here's the board and here's how many points you need to win and here's how you capture things and this is a crosscut and this is an Atari and this is a double Atari. I mean, all that's important and in due time they need to learn that stuff. But if you look at these amazing chess players and they're giving up on Go, maybe they're approaching Go like they're approaching chess and they just can't wrap their brains around it, and that's the issue, right? So if you have, it's obviously not like, oh, only smart people can play Go. Otherwise Magnus Carlsen and Gotham Chess would be perfect candidates to play Go. Clearly smart people who know how to play games like this, and yet they find it kind of like this big giant that is difficult. Another thing that Magnus Carlsen and Joe Rogan touched on that I didn't include in the little audio clip is the nature of the kind of bots that they're using in chess, where they have the neural net bots like we do in Go, but they also still have a good foundation of brute force side bots that do the kind of deep blue kind of calculation method. And then they have hybrid bots where they combine the neural net decision making versus the brute force calculation. And I realize in Go, we don't really have much of that brute force bot because it's just not good, which I found it to be an interesting difference. Maybe we have some that are pretty good in the 9x9 level, but especially in the 19x19 level, that brute force method just falls apart. There's just way too many moves that you can play. And so we're largely just neural net here. And I wonder if anyone's tried to hybridize a Go bot to include more of the brute force method, where they calculate just local positions and then they feed that information to the neural net, which then has a stronger sense of tactics, although tactics have never really been the issue for Go bots. So I just thought that was an interesting point. And then the last thing I want to mention about Magnus Carlsen's interview on Joe Rogan, when he talks about chess, and he kept on going back to his enjoyment of chess, and to the point where if he's not enjoying a tournament and he's not enjoying this professional play, he might even drop out or not want to do it. So for him, it's like he just loves chess so much that he just wants to spend all his time playing chess and thinking about chess. And the being the best, it almost is a secondary goal for him. Now, I don't know if that's the mark of a champion or that's just Magnus Carlsen. But I really like that approach. I think it kind of resonates with me that the approach that he takes is just purely about the passion of enjoying the game. Of course, that's not for everybody. I think a lot of people are driven to win, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think you can make a good career in a game just by trying to win a lot. And caring about winning, but obviously you don't want to lose too much sight of the joy that the game brings you. But one thing that I always think about is how I learned how to play guitar, because guitar is the first thing that came to me that I felt I was actually good at. I tried a lot of things as a kid. I tried various sports and things like that. I was like mediocre at most of them. But when guitar came around, I couldn't put it down. I kept that guitar on my lap, and I would do other things with the guitar in my lap. And it was just, I was by default playing guitar. And it's just because I loved it. I didn't want to impress anybody. I didn't really have an audience for it. I was a little bit of a loner. And then I just kept on playing because I loved it and I just wanted to learn songs, and I just found it so fun. And the more I did that, the more I became better, but that wasn't my goal. I wasn't just trying to become, I mean, I guess it was, but that wasn't my prime goal. But naturally, playing so much and trying to play all these songs so much, it got me to a point where I was really good at it. And then I realized I was good at it. People started recognizing that I was playing guitar well, and I thought, oh, wow, okay, so apparently I can play guitar pretty well. But this was after I already worked on it. I wasn't focusing on how good I was. I wasn't trying to compare myself to people. I was just looking at, Jimi Hendrix videos and seeing like, wow, I can't do that, right? If I'm putting myself among the greats, I was not good at guitar. I was terrible. But then once I stepped out and people saw me play, they realized, hey, look, this kid is good at guitar. And that's when I also realized it. But I always think about that journey that I had, that was back in high school, because I think about how we achieve greatness and how we get better at things. And I always remind myself about how I got good at guitar, and it was through just pure enjoyment and passion and just loving it. And if you can't do that with Go, if you can't bring yourself to love the actual game and the mechanics of the game and placing stones and things like that, it's going to be hard to improve. If you're just doing homework like it's homework, if you're just kind of training like it's something that you don't want to do but you really want to improve, so you're doing it, it's going to be so much harder. If you're more like Magnus Carlsen and you actually take an interest in the game and really obsess about what the game is and how it works, I think that's a good step towards improvement. Although that's not always easy. But one thing that I found personally that helps is, like I talked about in the past couple episodes, the memorizing of the pro game really helped spark my imagination for Go. And doing Tsumego problems, surprisingly enough, the more I do them, the more they seem super interesting to me. And the little hidden secrets that you find in the problems, they can actually bring a lot of interest into the game. So those are my comments of the Magnus Carlsen interview on Joe Rogan. I pretty much played the all the Go content there is in that interview. So if you were looking for that but didn't want to search through the entire interview, there you go. So we'll move on into a piece of news that came out. Shinjin-seo won the first Nanyang Cup and defeated Wang Xinghao 2-0. So this is the first Nanyang Cup, meaning that it's the first one of hopefully many more, but it is a tournament that is held, I believe, joint between Singapore and China, and this final was held in Singapore, and it was the 8th world major title for Shinjin-seo, which doesn't include things like the Nongshim Cup, which is kind of like a team event. So with 8 world major titles, Shinjin-seo joins the ranks of Gu Li and Ke Jie. And he's on the heels of Cho Hunhyun, who has, I think, 10 or 11 world championships. So he's climbing the ranks, and good for Shinjin-seo. Congratulations to him. There was a funny video of him after his win. In Singapore, there is a thing called the merlion, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a mermaid lion, so a lion head with a fish's tail. And it's the official mascot of Singapore. I actually had the pleasure of visiting Singapore many years ago and was able to see the merlion. But this statue, there's this big statue of the merlion, and it spouts water. It's like a fountain. And Shinjin-seo is like pretending to drink from it. Like, how they go to the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy, and then they all take a photo trying to hold it up, like with using perspective. He did the same thing except drinking from the merlion, and it was just kind of funny because he's so serious all the time. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool. The Merlion is pretty cool itself. I think more countries should have mythical animal mascots. I think that's like the only one I know of that's like just like this. This is our mythical animal mascot, and it's like, whoa! I didn't know we were supposed to have those. The Nanyang Cup was also the first world major done in Fisher time, with 2 hours each and a 15-second increment. And if you run out of time, you lose, obviously. But the key point here being that there was no counter, like there was no 5, 4, 3 kind of thing. So you really have to pay attention to your time, and you have to manage it kind of conservatively. Otherwise, you run the risk of losing your attention on the time and losing on time. One small note I was curious about. So Ukraine sent Andriy Kravets as a representative to this tournament, and there were representative slots for different regions. But for the USA slot, the player was Zhang Mingju, which I'm not as familiar with, but I was wondering why this was a non-AGA professional, or even a NA Go-Fed professional. Like Ryan Lee. I know Ryan Lee is Canadian, so maybe not the best choice for USA specifically. If it was a North American representative, I think he'd be a great candidate. Or why not Eric Louis from USA? I'm not sure why, but I mean, I guess if anybody knows, I'd love to hear the answer. So that's the first Nanyang Cup. And then some spicy news came out about a Chinese pro, 19-year-old Qin Shi Yue, who was banned for 8 years after being caught cheating with AI. So, a Chinese news source says on the evening of February 26th, the Chinese Weiqi Association issued an official announcement stating that professional Go player Qin Shi Yue was penalized for using an AI program during a competition. Xin brought a mobile phone to the tournament and used an AI program on it, which led to her professional rank being revoked and an 8-year ban from competitions. The punishment was imposed due to her violation of competition rules by using AI to cheat. So the announcement was on February 26th, but the actual date of the incident was a little farther back, December 5th of 2024. So yeah, used the phone. I think she put the phone at the venue beforehand and planted it so that she could access it during the game, which is pretty wild. It shows you all the premeditation that went into that cheating attempt. She also reportedly attempted to conceal the facts when questioned by authorities. And there was some video footage reviewed of the event. The event with testimonies gathered by on-site referees, players, and staff. Her rank was revoked, as I've mentioned. Her 2024 National Go Championship results were canceled, or I guess revoked. She's banned from participating in all Go events organized by the Chinese Weiqi Association for 8 years. And yeah, I don't think this is a bad route for the Chinese Weiqi Association to go. This is a pretty egregious violation, and honestly, there's no reason you should be cheating. It's really hard to see why you would work so hard all your life to get to the professional level, right? It's such a valuable thing that so many people strive for, and then throw it all away by cheating. It's just a shame. It's too bad. I mean, I think this professional player is going to have to, or ex-professional player now, is going to have to find something else to do. I mean, if she loves Go, then she'll keep playing. But as far as her professional life, I highly doubt she'll make any sort of comeback here, even after the 8 years are served. But yeah, it's kind of baffling. I guess it's hard to understand the pressure to win sometimes, and for us to understand what a professional feels like. But unfortunately, it's just not the right way to go. And I'm saying that I think this is a good precedent to set for the Chinese Weiqi Association, because you don't want to have to do a soft punishment one time and then have to do this again every couple years, because people are saying like, oh yeah, you know what? If I get caught, I only have to do a couple years, so I'm going to do it anyway. So discouraging this as much as possible, I think, is the best approach, you know. So unfortunate kind of thing that happened with the cheating. It's kind of a tough one. Another thing I want to talk about today. So I actually watched a movie called The Stone. In Korean, it's just called Stone, which is just stone. I think that's a better name for the movie. It's just Stone, which is a 2013-2014 movie, and it's a Korean movie, and you can watch it on Tubi for free, which is what I did. I'll link that in the description as well. But it's a Go movie, and it's really good. I liked it a lot because it had so much Go in it. It's not like a Go movie as in like it's about a young star trying to make it in the Go world or anything like that. It's more of like a crime, like half crime, half Go movie type of thing. This guy gets caught up in a crime world. But even so, there is a lot of Go on the screen. It's like always playing Go. There's like basically it's like a Go movie with some fighting in between. So I really enjoyed it. I love seeing Go on the screen, and there's a lot of cheating and gambling and scamming going on in the movie. Little like techniques without giving too many spoilers away. Somebody's like in the room trying to give away what the best move is using signals. So this is pre-AI time, so you can't use AI to cheat. So they just have to use stronger players to cheat. And there's a lot of gambling Go, right? In Korea, pandegi is a popular form of Go where you bet per point. Another thing in the movie that I found interesting was there's this character who keeps bragging about his rank, and he says that he's a military 3Q. As you know, Korea, men have to go into the army and serve for a couple years. It's just a mandatory thing. And I guess a lot of them play Go, and they have their own ranking system, is my assumption. It kind of reminded me of how my dad used to talk to his friends. I was like, hey, so how did you know what rank you were if you didn't have like, Fox or KGS available? And he was like, oh yeah, we would just like, as with my friends, we would just tell each other like, oh yeah, I think you're 14Q. I think I'm 15Q or something like that. So it was really casual. So probably something similar with what he's saying with military 3Q. But I thought that was a funny thing to brag about. I'm a military 3Q. And then the other thing is they constantly mention Lee Sedol as a comparison figure. Are you as good as Lee Sedol? Are you better than Lee Sedol? I thought that was interesting and kind of a mark of the times in 2013. If you don't like Go, if you're not into Go, this movie actually might be a little boring. Because it is a bit of a slow burn. It's not like a whole lot going on all the time. But the fact that they use Go for all the different comparisons and analogies throughout this movie, it really kept my Go mind engaged. And actually, there's even a Go problem in the movie. They don't give you a chance to solve it. They solve the problem and then they show it on the screen so you see the solution. But if you want to try it out, it is a fundamental Go problem called the J group or the pig snout group. So look that up on Sensei's library and give it a shot. If you want to try to solve that problem before you watch the scene. But overall, I highly recommend watching the movie if you like Go, because it's just, there's a lot of Go in it and a lot of shots of Go. And I just found it very enjoyable. So I'll link that again in the description. So check out that movie, The Stone. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about a little find that I found on store.baduk.club. It's a bit pricey, but it's really interesting. It's a travel set for the visually impaired. If you've ever watched the Surrounding Game documentary, they go to a Korean park and there's a blind man and he's playing Go on a blind Go set where the black stones have a little bump on them and the white stones are completely smooth, so you can touch the Go board and know what the arrangement of stones is. And then the lines are raised in a grid, so you can feel where all the intersections are. And then there's a little tool that you can use to pluck off the stones. I never thought I'd be able to purchase that or see one of those in my life, but it's up on Baduk store.baduk.club for $125, so I will not be getting it, but I think it's pretty cool that they have one in stock, and it's on the store. That's cool. I think that's really cool, and you can see the pictures of it. So I'll link that in the description as well. Let's learn to watch Baduk TV. Each episode, I'll teach you a little bit of Korean that you can use to recognize words and concepts talked about during professional games on Baduk TV. One of the first words that we learn as Go players is the word Atari, an important concept describing when a stone has only one liberty left. So let's start with that. How do you say Atari in Korean? Well, it's 단수. One more time, Atari in Korean is 단수. And you may hear the commentators say something like 단수를 치면, which means if you Atari, so it'll be sprinkled in there real quick, so you're going to have to pay attention. But next time you catch a game on Baduk TV, see if you can spot the word 단수. You know, I'm not the most fluent in Korean myself, so I don't fully follow the professional games 100%. Although Korean is technically the first language that I did learn, it quickly became a secondary language as I grew up in Canada. But since I know a certain amount of Korean, I can kind of follow along with most of the commentary, and I've learned a lot of Go terms along the way. So I just wanted to share with you guys some of those terms so that you can kind of nod your head at those Go terms that are being spoken again and again in those broadcasts. And hopefully over time, those broadcasts will make more and more sense to you. But now it's time for the DDK Advice Corner, and the tip of the day is beware the broken knight's move. So I saw a game where somebody played a knight's move, but it wasn't really a knight's move because it was pre-cut. Like, there was a stone at the waist of it already, and so the next turn, the opponent was able to cut the knight's move directly in half with two stones. If you know what I'm talking about and you can visualize that shape, well, try to avoid that shape as much as you can if you're on the receiving end of it. That is one of the worst shapes to have in the game. There's almost no good reason for you to have a completely split knight's move. Although, of course, with anything in Go, there's always exceptions to the scenarios. But in general, don't get that shape. And if your opponent offers you that shape, cut their knight's move straight down in half. Of course, not sacrificing too much. You're not going to be like focusing on cutting that knight's move, losing Sente twice, right? Not that extreme, but it is a good shape to avoid, and it's a good shape to make for your opponent. And now it's time for listener mail. A few of you have asked for the link to the old Cho Hunhyun game from the 1980s, and I'll go ahead and link it. I've responded to you guys to provide the link, but I'll go ahead and link it for anybody else who has not seen the link and is interested. It'll be called 1984 Cho Hunhyun game. And I also want to share a little tip for finding videos like this. When you search on YouTube, search for professional names in Korean. So you're going to need to copy and paste it from either Sensei's library or Wikipedia. Usually they'll have the Korean name written out. And if you can't tell what's Korean, what's Chinese, the Korean one is the one with the circles. That's the best tip I can give you. You can also search the term Baduk. So you can get that by going to Google Translate and just typing BADUK in the translate box in English, and in Korean it'll say Baduk in Korean. And you can go ahead and click the audio to just double check that that's what it's saying. You could also do the same thing for Japanese and Chinese characters. I mean, there's a lot more content out there in the Asian world than in the Western world. So sometimes when I want to look for some Go stuff, I will type in Korean terms just because I'm familiar with Korean, so I know what I'm searching. But I'm sure you guys can do it too. Just beware, some of the translations sometimes don't go so well, especially in Google Translate, so just double check. And if you're not getting results, maybe try again. But yeah, that's a little trick for finding relevant like Korean Go videos or Chinese or Japanese Go videos. No Concentrate 309 writes, at the end of the day, Go is just a game, but that doesn't mean it isn't worthy of respect and doesn't mean that respect and focus won't help you improve. It's a beautiful game and one where much of the depth comes from being able to slow down your mind and engross yourself in reading through and understanding a position. Thanks for writing in No Concentrate. So, this is in response to the Have I Lost My Respect for Go episode, and I like this balanced perspective of recognizing that Go is just a game, but at the same time, that doesn't mean it's not worthy of respect. I do like this balanced approach. What your comment says about slowing your mind down and engrossing yourself, I've noticed something about myself when I play Go is that I tend to rush through and just accept the circumstances as they are without seeing if I can get something better. And I'm noticing that this is something that I have in my own personality. Sometimes instead of fumbling through an awkward interaction, I will just accept reality as it is and skip that whole thing. And even when I'm alone and I'm trying to make decisions, I might just skip through something without fully reading out all the details of it, just because I want to get it solved. But if I'm playing Go like that, oftentimes that's not the best way to play, and so I need to slow down, engross myself, and really put myself into the game. So thanks for your perspective, No Concentrate. I really like that. Wampy writes, I haven't watched many new professional games, but I do love the magnetic board being used for variations. Having presenters giving their honest opinions versus just leveraging AI makes it feel much more humanistic. It gives you insight into how humans like myself would think instead of what is perfect. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I wouldn't want to get rid of the AI perspective completely. It is nice to know about what the AI is saying about a given position, but I think right now there's a little too much focus. I see the commentators just kind of saying, okay, well, AI says this, and this is the move that I would expect, and then like when Shinjin Sa makes an AI move, everybody applauds and goes, wow, he found the AI move, which is another type of fun, but honestly, I do miss some of that old style commentary. Thanks for writing in. Kagami108 writes, that depends on who I am playing against and how serious I want to take the games. I only play at my absolute best when I really want to win, and this usually happens when I am against opponents a few stones stronger than me. When against people of equal strength or slightly weaker, I tend to play more casually or slightly slack. It can be quite tiring mentally or to stay focused for a long time. But yes, if you want to play at your best possible level, you got to stay focused and read everything out, especially ladders and cuts. Thanks for writing in, Kagami. So I have a little bit of an opposite effect. Sometimes when I'm playing a stronger opponent, I try a little less because I kind of resign myself to, I'm not going to be able to beat this person. And when I'm playing against a weaker person, I might think I have to beat this person because I'm supposed to be stronger than them, right? So I might kind of have a reverse effect. Of course, at the same time, sometimes when I'm playing a weaker player, I may, put my guard down and not really take it seriously enough and lose the game that way. But yeah, thanks for writing in, Kagami108. And then Sadaharu writes, what I noticed in the Go community on Reddit is that many players do not want Go to be too popular because they don't want the respect for the game to be lost. Chess is very popular, but the game doesn't seem to be very well respected. There's much more trash talking in chess, and there is quite a bit of toxic people as well. People will do anything just to win, and having a low rating may equate to having less powers. People are afraid that if Go spreads too fast, the respect for the game will be lost as chess culture may kick in, making Go not so likable. Well, I actually haven't seen much of that perspective of people not wanting Go to be popular. I mean, even chess, the current state of, trash talking in chess has always kind of been a little bit part of the culture, I think. But the kind of memification of chess in the chess world happened kind of with PogChamps, I think. And during that time, it was actually kind of controversial. There were a few people who were kind of elitist about the game and did not like people who were bad at the game popularizing the game. Because PogChamps, if you don't know, was a tournament that highlighted complete beginners, but they were popular streamers. So it was kind of the opposite of what a lot of the chess players were focusing on. And so I can understand that crowd will exist for Go. But for me, although I really enjoy the culture of Go and the history and the traditions and that culture of respect, I do think we should try to preserve it as much as possible. I really want to see the game flourish. And even if that means that a crowd of rude people will come in and, anything that gets popular will have to face that. I am down for that, and I'm down to, defend the balance between the two worlds in Go. You can have a little fun, and you can also maintain a certain level of respect. I haven't really seen that perspective, though, Sadaharu, so, I'll be on the lookout for it. Thanks for writing in. Will Mung writes, in regards to commentary, I absolutely agree. Some of my favorite videos are old NHK games with translated subtitles, especially those with Cho Chikun. Yes, I love those games as well. If you search, I think Sunday Go Lessons has a few of the games. I don't know if he still does, but if you search NHK Cup or something, you'll see some Cho Chikun games. Of those, I honestly really enjoyed seeing the ones where he commentated. Oh yeah, because Cho Chikun also commentates sometimes. You get to see a lot of the personality both on and off the board in these older games, and it adds an extra layer to a game that's already so rich in value, depth, and tradition. Sadly, I can't find those videos anymore, and I really wish I could. In my freshman year of college, I would go to sleep listening to them sometimes. It was like a kind of ASMR and very comforting. Thanks for writing it. I've definitely done something like that too. And I'd be really sad if I couldn't find any NHK videos. Let me see if I can find some. If I search NHK Cup, will I see anything? Oh no, I don't see anything. Okay, I'm gonna do some digging and I'll let you know if I find anything. Thanks for writing in, Will Mung As. And then finally, Merrick MSK writes, that DDK advice is golden. They're referring to the one, don't try to win by taking the center. That was from a couple episodes back. Also, I find myself influenced by Japanese Go and the respectful culture. For example, even in online games, it is important for me to greet before a game and to thank my opponent after the game. Another habit of mine is to always play the upper right corner first. It is also a sign of respect rooted in Japanese Go. Thanks for writing in, Merrick. I also do that. I play in the upper right corner, even in an online game, even though the respect part of it doesn't really make sense online. But it's just tradition, right? I like that tradition. If you don't know, you play in the upper right. Actually, a lot of people don't know this, I think, because I don't think people are purposefully not doing it. And I have encountered many people who just don't play like this. But it is traditional and considered respectful to play your first stone as black in the upper right corner, right? That is from your own perspective. So that stone, it is on the opponent's side. And so it is inviting the opponent to play their own corner as well. And so it feels like you're offering them to play on their own side so they don't have to reach as far as, I think that's what it is, something like that. But honestly, if you don't do it, no one's gonna feel slighted. No one's gonna feel like you're being rude to them. So don't worry about it too much, but it's something good to know. Like if you're playing as black, although in tournaments, I typically have some kind of handicap system applied, so I don't actually get to do that very often in a tournament setting. But online, I always play on the top right corner first. So thanks for writing in, Merrick. The question of the week this week is, why do you think people cheat? If you're a cheater, if you've cheated, I mean, I will try not to put you on blast if you are being honest and vulnerable, but share your experience. What made you want to cheat? If you're not a cheater, let's speculate. Why do you think people do cheat? What is in it for them? Whether it's on a professional level or just a casual amateur level. Maybe lots of different reasons for that. If you want to share your thoughts on this question, or if you have a Go story to share, or have a question you want to ask me, you can comment on YouTube or the Reddit post for this episode, or you can email me directly at starpointbaduk@gmail.com. That's starpointbaduk@gmail.com. If you're a YouTube listener, I would greatly appreciate a like and a subscribe, and if you're a podcast listener, reviews and ratings also help. A very special thank you to James B. and Tristan for supporting Starpoint. Thanks, guys. If you want to support the show in any capacity, you can go to ko-fi.com/starpointbaduk. That's ko-fi.com. Or get some Starpoint merch at store.starpointbaduk.com. You know, there's a famous landmark in New York dedicated to the art of winning capturing races. It's called the Statue of Liberties. Some of you probably saw that one coming. Thanks for listening. Keep playing Go.